gets funnier every time. I just slightly scarier every time.
I'm sad this is the last time we're going to watch it.
For now. You tell me we're not going to get a Wonka 2?
Oh, we're getting a Wonka too.
Oh, no.
You put a T in front of that shit. Now he spells it out. It's
Wonka.
Wonka. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to KindaFunny's Wonka in Review. I love that we're doing this so damn much. We do this show every week. You already fucking know that shit. It's great. This is our last one of the year. Kind of crazy. The final in review of 2023. Thank you for joining us on this amazing journey. Of course, I am Tim Geddes. I am joined by the Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
Hello, everybody.
It's Christmas in December. Joey Noel.
It's actually December now.
It is. And rounding out the group today, the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Top of the hat to you, to Tim. God damn it. I had it and then I lost it.
Another symptom that Nick is just losing it a little bit.
You know, before we get into our thoughts on Wonka, before we get into any of that, we got to get into Nick Scarpino, the mind of Nick Scarpino.
We really
do.
don't.
We really don't.
Because last night we go to see Wonka at the theater. We decide we're going to go to the Regal at Stonestown, which is on the west side of San Francisco. Pretty deep in there. And very close to the studio.
Arguably one of the closest movie theaters to the studio. There's one closer potentially, but this one's better.
We don't like that one, though.
Yeah.
We don't like.
So
why don't we like that one?
The seats aren't comfy.
pros and
The
cons.
Regal seats aren't that comfy either.
Well, we have
This
but the
has
popcorn is
recliners.
super crunchy, so that's good.
Yeah, that offsets it.
Tell you what, I had some popcorn. Okay, we'll just tell the story.
yeah. So we get to the theater last night. Me and G show up. We roll up to, like we always do. I look over and I see Joe. And I'm like, what's up, Joe? I'm like looking around. I'm like, huh, where are the boys at? Which confused Joey.
Yeah. The boys could have meant a lot of things. You could have been asking me about the TV show. You could have been asking me about your dogs. Did not at all think you were asking me about Nick and Andy.
Nick and Andy. But I was like, hey, where are the boys at? And Joey's like, I don't know. And I was like, oh, I'm talking about Nick and Andy. And she's like, oh, Andy normally comes like in the middle of the trailers. And I was like, I don't think that that's accurate. I feel like you might be a last minute arrival, but you're not popping in like during the trailers.
It's usually when it's one of these showings, when I know there's not going to be a lot of people, you know, I cut it close. We know the way I am with time around here. Sometimes Tim, I swear to Christ,
How are you
sometimes
with time around here?
bad, Joe, bad. There's times where I'm like, all right, just got to go get my keys from my room. And I swear 7 minutes passes in the time that I go to get them. I don't know how. It's just like, I was just doing that. Like, how is it? So, you know, I cut it close usually. But I know there's always 15 to 20 minutes of trailers.
Yeah.
No big deal.
And, you know, I know there's a lot of tangents here to go off on. We don't need to speak on this too long. I gotta say, Regal's kind of pissing me off. Because back in the day, it would just be like, hey, here's Maria Menounos doing her thing. Not a Regal, but like she would do her stuff, right? The little pre-trailer show. And then there's the trailers. And then there's the movie. And maybe you throw in the, like, let's promote our unlimited viewing thing, and let's promote either Coke or Pepsi, depending on if we're a good or bad place.
Is this the one with the bad movie quote commercial?
Well,
That's another thing.
that thing is
Joe.
dead. Thank God. That thing,
so exciting.
Yes, that thing is fucking dead.
They replaced it with something worse.
No. Well, they did replace it with some weird shit.
Yeah.
Get into the weeds here. What bothers me is movie starts at, let's just say, 4 p.m. What happens at 4 p.m.? Maria Menounos should stop talking.
Stop talking.
The green screen should come up and we start watching trailers, right? No. Now you watch 3 minutes of fucking off-brand Pepsi-ass soda commercials that are weird as hell. Then trailers start
I
playing.
don't think Pepsi's an off-brand, but go ahead.
Well, then, okay, but fucking Starry. You're going to tell me Starry's not a goddamn off-brand?
Look, man.
Formerly known as Sierra Mist?
Look, man. Shoot for
I
the
can't believe
stars.
they did Sierra Mist so dirty like that, you know?
Disgusting. Disgusting behavior, honestly. But then you watch the trailers. Did you notice? I've now watched multiple movies with you, Andy, in the last couple of weeks at Regal.
Yep.
Trailer. Before the movie starts, there's just a fucking Mazda commercial.
Yeah.
I did see that.
I don't know why it makes me so angry, but it freaking does.
Well, we can keep telling this story, but I have a funny thing to say about that as well. As soon as you revealed to the audience what happened to me last night.
So I'm going along with this. Where this ends up is like Andy. He ends up walking in. I'm like, there's our.
I got my nachos. I got my popcorn.
God. Okay.
I'm like, maybe I should get a bigger popcorn because Nick might steal some.
I need to go into this even more though.
Go
Andy.
for it.
I've now watched 2 movies with Andy in the last
A lot of movies.
week, and both times, Andy is like a magician. He comes in holding nachos, a thing of nachos, and a thing of popcorn, and I'm like, "That's cool. I'm proud of you.
No
I
drink.
Get it?
No, I had a
Oh,
beverage.
and a drink too." somehow throughout the movie, he's pulling candy out of every fucking orifice, dude. He has so much. He has an entire chocolate factory in there. And I was like, this is the most impressive thing. How are you holding all of this stuff?
I got that front pocket, and so the first time was Nerds Clusters. This time was some Sour Patch.
Okay.
Immediately felt sick about halfway through and stopped eating the Sour Patch. But yeah, you gotta offset the salty with the sweet. You know?
Yeah, of course. That's the balance. All the food groups. Anyways, we're there. We're about to walk in. It's like, wait, where's Nick? And then we start to realize Nick's not here.
No.
Nick should be here. Nick's always early. Nick's hanging out, doing something.
So,
And I went into my mind's eye.
yeah.
To earlier, you and I, the last ones here at this
5:30. 5:30 p.m. movie starts at 6:30.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're here at 5:30, and I go, all right, Joe, I start getting antsy because I like to be early. And I'm thinking to myself, it's gonna take me 30 minutes to get there, roughly, maybe 10, maybe 45. That gives me 15 minutes to walk across the street by the Target up the stairs. Still could be talking about any movie theater that we're going to because it's always a Target, right? Like at Joe, I was like, hey Joe, I'm gonna take off, I think. And Joey went, yeah, no, I'll see you there. And I'm thinking to myself, Joey's gonna be late, but but you know, she knows what she's doing. So instead of clarifying, I just left. And I fought traffic all the way down
Such
to
a
downtown
tough fight.
San Francisco, where I parked
Opposite end of the city to where we're at.
where I parked with 15 minutes to spare. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, am I not the hot shit. I can go get a soda, maybe a little tiny
Chipotle?
popcorn.
World is your oyster.
World's
right
my
now.
oyster. And I'm thinking, I'm like, this is a normal movie, so there's hella trailers. I've got plenty of time. And then I see the text come in with Tim. Now, Tim, for those of you that know, Joey or Tim usually buy the tickets, and then they send out the text with the barcode or the QR code, and then we get it, right? It pops up on my screen. I look at it, and my face activates the message, and that's when the horror sets in because the ticket has orange in it.
I
And
can
the
imagine like
Metreon-
the movie where the orange light is shining on your face. You're like,
And two levels of fear set in. One was I'm like, orange is a Regal cinema color, not an AMC color. I am at an AMC right now. I am at the wrong theater. Sure enough, I open up the invite that we have, the calendar invite, and it says Stonestown. And I'm like, shit. So fear number one sets in. Is this a screener that if I miss, I won't be able to see it again? And I look around and I see Wonka. So I'm like, I think Wonka's out now. And I asked, and someone's
Wonka's
like, yeah,
ever-present.
they're like, there's like 30 screeners. And I was like, oh, okay, look it up. And there's a 7 p.m. in the Dolby Cinema. And I was like, okay, well, at least that's fine. I had to see it by myself, but at least I see it on a really nice screen, right? But then the real fear sets in, right?
bad
And
popcorn.
that real fear is, no, not bad popcorn.
No.
What is going to be said about me before I come into the office?
And you just have been going through it. Like, but my
All
favorite thing is
day.
on Fridays we have our production meeting and like we all get together in the morning and like talk about the next week. And Greg who was not part of last night at all, heard about Nick.
Greg pulled a me,
Yeah.
talking like he was there.
Yeah.
talking like I did this to him, right? And all I'll say is this. Okay, obviously I was able to see the movie and ended up being great. Did I love being the only 43-year-old in that theater, sandwiched in between two different groups of teenagers that when they saw Timothee Chalamet sing every single time they started laughing? Kind of did, actually. It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Were you raw dogging hot dogs this time? by
No,
yourself?
I had
Okay.
a tiny little popcorn because I just had a little tiny little popcorn. It kind of made me sick
So
because
small.
I was expecting it was like buttery and not crunchy,
Oh, gross.
and that's the problem.
That's absolutely
And
gross.
we all know that popcorn tastes best when you steal it from Andy.
100%, right?
Yeah.
I like free popcorn.
Now-
what I'll say is like,
All I wanted to say is immediately, Joe. This is brought up in the office, and Nick goes, "Yeah, fucking Joey."
why didn't you tell me I was leaving early?
Because I'm sitting at my desk working on stuff, being like, "Damn, I got like a whole hour to kill before this movie."
You couldn't
And
say
Nick's
you're
like,
leaving early.
"I'm
Why
gonna
do you leave
leave."
so early?
But you do this
You
all
check
the
in with
time.
me.
You do this all the time.
I'm an old
Sometimes
man.
you just wander around the Apple store. You're like, "I want a mall pretzel." You're like, "I'm gonna go to Chipotle."
It was
because all of
such-
those things are at the mall, and I'm like, I don't know. I guess
I
Nick's
just-
gonna go be
it
Nick at the
was-
mall.
It was Snowbike Mike levels of shift blaming,
blaming, yeah.
just going, "Yeah, fuck you, Joey," and then of course. We all start laughing, and then I kind of got to side with Nick. I'm like, Joey, look, he had a small screen a couple years ago.
I
I just don't know why no one looks at the calendar. How can nobody do this? How do you guys live their lives.
Because we have you, Joey.
Oh,
because
my
we
God.
depend on
I
you.
worry about your. Well, I don't worry, but I'm just like, how do you have personal lives that I don't manage?
I have a
was
wife
really-
on my personal life, but D runs my personal life.
It was really
You
interesting.
Could be your own D.
when-
You could be your own Joey.
When
need
Tim
it.
goes,
Untethered.
where's Nick? And immediately Joey goes, he went to the wrong theater. And she knew it. And then Tim gets a call. Right. Oh, shit. No, it's all good. Well, if they're showing it there, yeah, just watch it there. We're like, wow, Joey
All
crushed
the numbers
it.
in my head just
Yeah.
like popped into place,
Look,
and I
that's-
put it all together.
At some point, we're going to talk about this movie because I got a lot of stuff to say. But I think we can conclude this by saying that Joey already knew.
Yeah.
Okay. Was me going to the wrong movie theater an inside job? That's all I'll
Yeah.
say.
These are the big questions.
Hashtag, did Joey know?
Information
Joey
was
know?
known.
Did Joey know?
Did Joey know?
Okay. Because you saw me leave an hour early and you thought to yourself, he's going to the wrong theater, but you didn't say anything.
No, I just
You
thought
thought
you were
that
going to
to
be
yourself.
weird, Nick. Sometimes you just like to wander around the mall.
I do like to, I love malls.
He
He's a
loves
ball
a
one.
I love
wanderer,
wandering
yeah.
around malls to the point where I'm like, I've just been walking aimlessly for so long, my knees hurt.
Nick's
Maybe
gonna
you
be
were getting
the-
Christmas presents for D. How? I don't know. I'm not asking you all
Nick's
these
gonna be the
questions.
one getting to malls like at 7 a.m. with the old ladies
Oh,
that just
walk
walk
in?
around the mall. Like, he's gonna be that guy.
He really, really would. Now, I do have one last thing I need to talk about Nick Scarpino about that's very important to me because last night I saw a tweet go up by one Henry Winkler. All right, Kevin, if you could bring this up, please. There was a tweet going around from the irrelevant fan couple on Twitter that said, "Who is this? Wrong answers only." And it's a picture of Ron Howard, as you know, most famous from directing and the show Happy Days, where he starred alongside Henry Winkler as the Fonz.
The Andy Griffith Show.
And that too. Henry Winkler retweets it though and says, "My very good friend," implying that it's wrong answers only. They're not good friends. And I saw this and I was like, literally, me and G were sitting there watching TV that we've been waiting to watch, and I had to be like, G, I have to pause. I have to turn on my computer.
Yeah.
I need to Photoshop something right now.
Yeah.
So I did this.
Had to throw Nick Scarpino under the bus.
Just a picture of Nick in that place. My good friend. Wrong answers
What an
only.
inspired picture of
I know.
Nick, too.
A picture of Nick wearing a shirt that says Nick's the best, holding a cake that says Nick is the best.
Useless.
First off, and this is how fucked up I am psychologically. I see this and I'm like, oh, that's a good burn. And then my second thought is, man, I look great in this picture.
You do.
I look real good. Hair's looking. I gotta get my hair cut like that again.
But then I had to go through like the motions in my mind of like, all right, how do I play this? Because the right answer would be quote tweet Henry Winkler's tweet with
Yeah.
the picture so that there's context for people looking and everything. But also I was like, I don't want Nick to get mad for me tagging Henry Winkler
Yeah,
in this.
no, you don't
so
wanna
I was
do
like,
that.
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna just post the picture. But me doing that made a lot of people think it was real.
I thought it was real at first, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I was like, no, I can't. I mean, it looked good until I realized you were quote tweeting a picture. And then I was like, oh yeah, he's screwing with us because I went in on it. But you
Yeah.
got me good on that one. That was
You
fun.
gotta love it. You gotta love
Yeah.
it. Anyway, enough
Anyway,
making fun of Nick.
Saw that in the
for
middle of
now.
my AMC theater. Not a big deal. I will say the funniest thing that happened to me last night though was
The Mark Wahlberg trailer?
Wait,
Oh my god.
did I see that
The
last night?
dog.
Where they're like going through the
Simu
jungle.
Liu.
Where he's like, where it's like True Lies, where it's like, I used to be it's just well, and then they fired me, and now I'm a handyman, but now they're back to kill me. That
no,
trailer?
not that one. Not that one.
Oh, I thought that was it.
No,
He's in
this
another
was-
movie. It's like a True Lies ripoff.
No, this is like an inspired, like we found this dog while we're doing this Iron Man thing, and now it's part of our team.
Oh no, I didn't see that. No, what
Triumph
happened
of the
was
dog spirit.
I'm at AMC theaters, and I forget this happens every single time. And every single time it happens, I want it to be over so badly. The Nicole Kidman thing,
Fuck you.
right? And I've never watched
was
a movie with
That
this
was a
many.
real reaction.
I know. I've never watched a movie with this many teenagers. And I forget the line, but I think it's something like, we come to this place, like she's like, we come to this place.
for magic.
Right. No, goddamn. It's whatever she says at the very, very end of it.
Heartbreak feels good
Yes.
in a place like this.
But she says something to set it up.
Do you
and she,
not know the
thank
Pledge
you.
of
She
Allegiance?
she took a pause. She took a pause, and some kid in the front row goes, in a place like this. And then she goes, in a place like this. And it was so fucking funny. It was just perfectly timed. I was like, all right, I'm back in on
I'm
this.
back in,
I'm back in on
everybody.
this.
Got
God,
him.
I love and hate you so much, Nick. I also love this show, Kind of Funny's in Review, where each and every week we get together to rank, review, and recap different movie franchises. Like I said, this is the end of 2023. When we come back next year, we're going to be playing catch up with a bunch of stuff, including Aquaman 2 and What If. season 2. So get prepared for both of those things. I can't wait for Aquaman 2 to be behind us. We're so close. We're so close. Every time we see a trailer, I'm just like, how
is this movie not out yet? Something else that we didn't get to talk about is we do get to come back for another Saw movie next year.
We do. Saw 11 has been confirmed for September next year.
Aren't we so excited?
What do you got, Nick?
I'm excited. That's fine. Oh no, I remember the line. It was the very last line, because here they are. And I just heard it go, because here. And someone goes, they are. She goes, they are. It was so fucking funny.
Bro.
God, it was funny.
Oh my God. But you can get this on youtube.com/kindafunny or roosterteeth.com. You can also get it as a podcast by searching your favorite podcast service for Kinda Funny in Review, and we will be right there for you. Today we're brought to you by X-Real, ZBiotics, and BetterHelp, but we'll get to that later. If you're on patreon.com/kindafunny, you don't need to hear any ads, and you get to watch the show live as we record it, just like our Patreon producers, Nathan Lamoth, James Hastings, and Casey Andrew have done. Today we're talking about Wonka. Released on December 15th, 2023. It was directed by Paul King, a British writer and director. He works in television, film, theater, and specializes in comedy. He's directed a whole bunch of different things, mainly British things, but he also directed Paddington 1 and 2. Most importantly, he directed The Legend of Old Greg.
Oh my God. The Mighty Boosh.
The Mighty
Really?
Boosh. He directed 20 episodes of The Mighty Boosh.
Holy shit.
But specifically, The Legend of Old Greg,
I'm old Greg.
which I can't
Wow.
believe.
That's fascinating.
It is. It is.
What a moment in time that is really truly
Mother-licker.
hard to explain to people that weren't chronically online at the time.
Yeah.
That was different online, you know?
Shoes. There's
Oh my God.
so many of them.
No, but I feel like old Greg would, if that came out now, would be massive with Gen Z and Alpha.
Yeah.
Like that would be something that we probably wouldn't get if it came out now.
It's the modern day skippy toilet or whatever the fuck you guys were talking
What,
about
Alpha?
earlier. That's like below
Yeah,
Gen
Gen
Z.
Alpha is like younger than
Fucking
Gen Z.
A, I haven't even thought about that.
Because
That's
I've-
not a thing, is it?
Oh yeah, it is, because I've seen many
That's probably
TikToks
like your
from
nieces and nephews, right?
Yeah, I've seen many TikToks of Gen Z kids
We're just starting over?
being like, man, Gen Alpha humor is so fucking weird. It's already happening, dude. Oh yeah.
Nick, don't give me that face. No.
We're grandparents now.
No.
Yeah.
Grandpapa.
Oh yeah.
God
Do we have
damn.
like a generation tagline like X and Z and Alpha? Or are we just millennials?
I think
We
just
got
millennial.
the meats.
Alpha's badass though. Alpha
We got
Squad.
the means.
Arby's. We
Oh,
got
that was
Arby's. We got the
Mm.
meats.
Oh,
Close.
sorry. Music was done by Joby Talbot and Neil Hannon. This one had a budget of $125 million. The box office so far, $43.2 million. And it didn't even come out yet, really. So it's doing pretty goddamn well.
Dude, I'm
That's
sitting in this
impressive.
theater last night, and it's the movie's starting, and there's 3 people in this theater, and I'm like, dude, this is gonna fucking bomb. And then I realized it's nothing but teenagers. And what do teenagers do? Show up 15 minutes late. Look around 10 minutes into the movie. I'm like, holy shit, there's so many people in this theater.
Oh,
now.
wow.
It was packed.
No, dude, I think this movie's about to dominate.
It's gonna do well.
And it's kind of wild because it really does feel like the star factor of Timothee Chalamet is the main ingredient here. Like as we're watching, I'm like, I don't know if Chalamet has this power to really have a lot of people come to see this movie in particular. And yeah, I
He's
think
got the stuff.
I'm absolutely going to be proven wrong on this one. Yeah.
I
Power
think
of
it's a combination of the younger generations really fucking with Timothée Chalamet and then the older generations having a touchstone for the story and caring about that. So
Yeah.
it's like the perfect holiday Christmas movie. Really.
Yeah. So that's all that stuff for you. I do have a fact about the post-credit scene, but I'll tell you about that in a little bit after we get our thoughts out of the way.
Was there a post-credit scene?
Mid-credit.
the Hugh
okay.
Grant stuff, yeah.
Because would you guys believe that? I'm not going to spoil it yet, but would you believe that there's a setup for like a cinematic universe that was teased that I didn't realize? We'll get to that in a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
Before we get there, though, Nick, you weren't with us.
Yes.
So I want to start with you. What are your thoughts on Wonka 2023?
I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this film. You and I talked briefly before I left, and I said something to the extent of my normal curmudgeon, like, can't wait. to
Before
see
you
what kind
left
of
for the wrong theater?
I mean, the theater. We're not going to say there's a right or wrong. We don't
Directed
need
to the incorrect place.
correct. By misdirected
Yeah.
to the incorrect place
Yeah.
by one Joey. I came into this movie with the lowest expectations possible, ready to tear it apart. And right off the bat, well, first off, the second Timothée Chalamet started singing, every teenager in that theater started laughing. And it wasn't the kind of laugh that you want.
Right.
You know, it wasn't the kind of laugh that like when I say something funny and younger people laugh, I realize I'm like, oh, they're laughing at me, not with me. But something in me was like kind of switched over where I was like, oh, this is not going to be Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka. They're going in a completely different direction from this. It's an origin story, and I think that was really smart, obviously, to come at it from that perspective and just tell a completely different story with a completely different vibe that still skates that line of kind of fantastical and also kind of twisted and weird. And I think Chalamet, for the most part, did a good job as Wonka. I think he was very likable. I think he had some line deliveries that were a little off that I wish we had a couple different takes on. But for the most part, I think he was able to make me believe in the magic of the universe more often than not. And I think he did a good job carrying the film. But really, I think the supporting cast around him was phenomenal. I think the girl that played Noodle was good. I think everyone in the basement was great. And I think Keegan-Michael Key was phenomenal. And then we got to have we got to have our own separate category for one. Sir Hugh Grant.
Yes.
I don't know if he's a knight yet.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say Mr. Bean.
No, Mr. Bean peeking this. I was like, Mr. Bean never ages. This man can do anything. But Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa, which was the most cringy part of the trailer for me, and I was like, oh God, I'm not looking forward to this. Man, he just had fun with this. He had a good time. Only criticism I had is I wish they would have just used his body and not a CG double. I wish they would have just used like the Hobbit technology to shrink him down a little bit more, because I feel like he would have added a level of physicality to it that would have taken it really to the next stratosphere. But I think what a fun little adventure. And ultimately, what a fun world that they were able to build that feels completely different than the Gene Wilder universe, which I'm fine with. We don't need to build off of that. Let's just take this another direction. And this is a movie where, you know, I could see them doing like Willy Wonka 2 or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as the next film, and then Glass Elevator, and then just taking it off wherever they need to go. So walked out with a smile on my face and pulled up the music from the original Willy Wonka and drove home singing I Got a Golden Ticket, and it was a fun night.
There we go. Joe?
I'm definitely not as high on it as Nick. I think it's
maybe you should have seen it in a better theater.
Oh yeah, the theater was the issue. I think it's fine. I think it's fun. I don't think I will ever watch this movie again. I think it's like a one and done. I don't really need to experience anything of that. I liked Timothee Chalamet more than I thought I would. I think that's like the nicest thing that I can say. I think that the cast of who's the name of the director?
Paul King.
I feel like he's really good at doing like really fun, bigger cast stuff. Like that's all of Paddington, stuff like that, which hopefully we will get to next year or whenever Paddington 3 comes out. I don't know.
Watch Shrek first, okay?
Paddington 3 is coming out too.
There's also a Beverly Hills Cop movie coming out. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that you were shredding yesterday.
Watch the trailer while I was sitting on the John. It did not look good.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Why did you have to add that? Like, what is
Context, Joey. I'm detail oriented now.
You didn't need to know where you were.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think it was fine. It was fun. I don't know that I care enough about Willy Wonka and all of this stuff to like really get invested in this.
Here's my question for you, as probably the other big La La Land fan in the office. What did you think of the actual music numbers and like the production design behind that?
I thought they were fun. I was talking a little bit earlier where it like it reminded me less of La La Land and more of Into the Woods, which is like not a compliment.
Right.
I do think I could not tell you right now like what any of the songs were. So I think they're like pretty forgettable.
That's my big disappointment walking away is that, and that obviously that's a hard thing to really nail. But I walked out of La La Land that's amazing. I walked out of La La Land thinking like humming the tune, not knowing the lyrics. We're like bum, 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 you know, having those still stuck in my brain. And the only song that I could walk away from this movie was the end song, which is the original song from the original movie.
Not scrub. That one got
good, fun. But I think overall production design and the musical numbers were great. I just wish that the music, I always want the music to be like every single one of those number one hits. Similar to like when you walked out of a Disney film when you were a kid and like The Lion King or Little Mermaid, every song
a single
slap. Yeah. This one just felt like, hey, we're kind of nailing the vibe of it. But I don't think any of these are going to be songs that stick in the cultural zeitgeist forever.
Yeah. And I do think that the entire premise for the movie being Wonka can't read is like very funny. I don't know why. missed opportunity to cast Leah Michelle, you know?
Just my damn Joey. That's fucking hilarious. I was very shocked because I didn't see much about this movie going into it. One thing was Kevin was like, "So you excited to see Wonka?" And I was like, I mean, I don't really know. He goes, "Oh, there's one big thing about it." And like the way he said it was so ominous, where I was like, "Oh man, is there some big twist or is there some crazy thing?" Did not realize the thing Kevin was talking about was that Wonka can't read. And I was like, Kevin, why is that so fascinating to you?
Fascinating.
Kevin,
Fascinating.
I brought it up to him, and I was like, Tim made it seem like you weren't happy that was the direction they went with. You felt insulted by it.
I was just caught off guard. I mean, it's so random.
Yeah.
But like they kind of deal with it. Like it's a little weird. Anyway, Andy Cortez, what did you think of this one?
About 30 minutes in, I was like, this is a fucking waste of time. And I didn't love a lot of what Chalamet was doing characterization-wise. I thought there was a lot of endearing moments, and then he would try to, like, the directors would decide to edit in, or not edit in, but keep the cut where he did the wacky take on that line. And it just, a lot of that wasn't working for me. And then around when Tim went to the restroom, when they are doing the sequence of getting the dog in the basement to kind of do all the chores for everybody else in the basement, and we're seeing Wonka's ingenuity, and maybe even a bit before that when he first introduces Noodle to the chocolate, and that's kind of where the movie started turning for me. And then Hugh Grant fucking shows up. And I was like, I'm enjoying the shit out of this. I really enjoyed Hugh Grant's interpretation of the Oompa Loompa. I loved pretty much everything about the line delivery was just so like funny and engaging for me. And then by the end of it, I'm like, I can't believe I'm crying at this damn Wonka movie. Like, I've got tears in my eyes because I feel like they hit a lot of the moments and they felt earned, and the musical bits near the end, I'm like, oh my God, they're doing Pure Imagination. I didn't expect this, and it's a different version, and it ruled. And I'm still kind of with Joey though. I don't know if I'll ever watch this movie again, but with expectations being on the ground and then feeling like I was right in my initial like thoughts about it, to turn me around on the movie, I thought was a pretty big feat, especially when you're in that moment. You're like, I'm not having a great time right now. And then they somehow spun it around, and I think the movie got a lot more magical and inventive, and I had a really good time with it. The whole premise of the
chocolate cartel.
The chocolate cartel is hilarious.
I thought it was really fun.
They had a lot of fun with it, and I ended up having a lot more fun with it by the end of it.
I loved that. I thought that all that stuff was very inspired because I think it built this fantastical world that was somewhat grounded. It's a world that set up rules and adhered to them for the most part, and I think there was a payoff toward the end of that. So that I really, really like. Tim, how much did you like the tease of Pure Imagination throughout the entire movie? And they never got to it. Even when he went to the garden, I was like, here it is.
Me
He's
too.
gonna open the door.
Yep.
And it's gonna be Pure Imagination. And they didn't because of the dour note that happens right after that. And they save it for the end. I was like, Tim's gonna love that.
Oh, and I did.
Yeah.
Now look, I'm definitely in line with the table in some way. I think I'm closer to Nick on it overall. But I'm so with Andy in the sense that the movie starts. Going into this, I'm like, I'm not the biggest Timothee Chalamet guy. Nothing against the man, but I'm just him being in this doesn't make me go, oh, I'm excited for this.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Is this his first like leading role, or is that Dune?
No, I mean he's done
Okay.
Dune.
Just curious.
Dune was probably his biggest role to
Yeah.
date. He's done a lot of indies. Like he was in I forget, not Wet Hot
Lady
American
Bird.
Summer. There was like,
Lady Bird,
vampire
Little
one?
Women,
yeah, he's
Call Me
been
by
in a
Your
bunch.
Name.
No,
yeah,
Call Me by Your
the
Name
one
was big.
I've seen.
No, I'm thinking one that kind of came and went where he becomes a drug dealer for a summer in the Catskills. But anyway, I'll look it up later.
Anyway, nothing about this. So I'm like, this movie doesn't need to happen. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I didn't even see the trailer. Like a lot about it, I was like, whatever, we'll see. The movie starts with the little Pure Imagination, like little jingles as you're seeing the Warner Brothers logo. And from that moment, I was like, I looked at Andy, I'm like, whoa.
I turned to Tim. I was like, "This is a good start."
What kind of
like,
I didn't expect this. It's so simple, but I think this might be good. About 5 minutes later, I was like, okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'm right there with Andy, where it's like the beginning stuff with Wonka on the boat and like he's singing and stuff. I'm like, this isn't working for me. And I think that there's that ease in process with musicals where it's awkward and you're like, I don't like this, and they have to kind of win you over. That started happening to me pretty soon. Like I went from really being against the movie to kind of buying in around the time when he was showing Noodle when the magic started. You know what I mean? Where it's like he's an inventor and he's a chocolatier, and like showing all that stuff and like the crazy wacky shit that we know from the original movie, him doing it like having all his like bits and bobs and little like things that fold out or whatever. There was something about the design of it all that I bought into the whimsy. And the moment that happened, when the song started playing, I was like, cool, you somehow earned entering me into this world. And they kind of kept me there the entire time, where I just think this movie got better and better. And by the time you get to the end, like, Kev, this movie ends with essentially the Star Trek 2009 end, where they do the building the Enterprise and like do the time lapse of it, but with building the chocolate factory while pure imagination plays. And it's fucking awesome. Like it is so goddamn cool. But that wasn't my favorite moment of the movie. My favorite moment of the movie is when he's chilling in bed, trying to go to sleep, and a little dude starts to try to break into the house to steal something. And we start hearing little ominous beats of the doom-da, doom-da, doot-doot-doot. I'm like, why is this the hypest fucking entrance of all time for a goddamn Oompa Loompa? They played it so perfectly. Going into this, I was like, I don't think this movie's gonna be good. I don't think the music's gonna be good. I do not think that Hugh Grant's...
They're everywhere.
I think this is going to be a disaster. He was fantastic.
Fantastic.
And I'm sorry, I did misspeak earlier. I said, oh, they had one song that was memorable. No, I forgot. They gave us the Oompa Loompa song as well.
Every time.
And it was great.
It was awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. There's something about it. It all just played off. And oh, my God. Kevin, you have this perfect. There's him right now in the middle. I love how many there are around us.
Yeah, there's so many.
But there's this him in the middle where he like is leaning back on this chair. At some point, Andy turns to me when Hugh Grant's Oompa Loompa is just being full-ass Hugh Grant Oompa Loompa, and he goes, this is the most Kevin motherfucker ever. And just
laying down in the mechanized seat with the face
he
mask.
sits there and like Kev, the Wonka was essentially is on this boat and had like a shitty seat. So the Oompa Loompa goes with his nice chair, puts it in front of him and looks at him, puts his little like eye thing on, and he goes, do you need anything from me? I'm going flat.
And he just reclines in the
After having a cocktail.
This is so Kevin.
But there was something about his thing, like plopping out all of these like gadgets and
He's
stuff
like
like
making
that.
a fancy
That
cocktail for
feels
himself.
very,
It was like a Louis Vuitton trunk, too.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
hilarious.
It was perfect.
Phenomenal.
It was fucking perfect.
There was a moment kind of initially that reminded me of some of the weird lines that Johnny Depp would say in his Wonka movie, that would throw you off, and it's like, that you're trying to do the Gene Wilder thing where you're just saying a weird throwaway line and it just isn't hitting the same way.
Yeah.
And when he tells Noodles that flamingos can't fly, they can fly, they need to be led somewhere. And I
Somebody
was
needs to show
like,
them how or whatever it
I
is.
was like, all right, that's a stupid
obvious
line.
setup for 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
And but, I mean, here's the thing though. I didn't expect a
really?
payoff.
Oh, really? I saw
Because
the balloons and I saw the flamingos. I was like, the flamingos are
They're
going
going
to fly
up.
away when
I
that
didn't
goes up.
expect a payoff because I just didn't expect a whole lot from this movie, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. And when that happens, like full body chills, like, oh shit, this is actually kind of sick. And like, I wasn't super enjoying the song there. And when Noodle breaks out into singing, I heard Joey cackle a bit, and I kind of had the same feeling. It's like, oh man, this just like isn't hitting the right way. And then the song kept going and it kept building, and there he is tugging on them giraffe titties, you know what I mean? Trying to get that milk and trying to make his chocolate, because Tim, you didn't hear that he was like, I can't use regular milk. I got to use like giraffe milk and whatever. So that was the whole point of going to the zoo. But that payoff was really damn cool, and it just kind of kept on getting better and better.
That's
really
my
weird.
thing.
Yeah.
I think the movie's just very well made. I think it's well written. I think it's well made, and I think it's well cast for the most part. And I think Chalamet does a serviceable job, sort of moving it forward. But really, the supporting cast for me was what I looked forward to. I love Olivia Colman, and I think every time
really
she's
fun
on
cast.
screen with the other guy, I don't know the actor's name, the Bavarian guy. I thought they were so hilarious. The thing that would have taken this movie potentially from being good to being like an all-time classic would have been if Chalamet could have. I think he maybe hit 70% of what we needed him to. And what I mean is, like, I wish he could command the scene and be that lovable goof like Ryan Gosling is in every one of his comedic movies. We watched The Fall Guy. I made everyone watch the Fall Guys trailer because I was like, he is just mesmerizing as the idiot in every single thing that he's in. And I think Chalamet, for the most part, did a decent enough job at this, but he didn't quite nail it 100%.
It's interesting. I feel like, to me, jury's kind of out on Timothy's performance on it, because I feel like for us at this table and for a lot of people watching, it's impossible, because we're talking about one of the best character portrayals.
You're never
going to
be Gene. Yeah.
And it's like, it is closer to that than Johnny Depp, for sure.
Well, because it's likable. Right. That's the one thing is I think he came at this from like hey, I'm just going to play this character innocent and likable. Whereas Johnny Depp, my big gripe with him was I was like, I don't fucking like this guy. He's mean and he's mean spirited and he puts me in a bad mood. And the whole movie's just dour. Whereas this one, at the very least, I'm like, it's bright, it's colorful, production design's great. He's having a good time. Everyone's having a good time. I'm having a good time.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a generation that grows up with this iteration loving this character. And I honestly, like, I almost want to give Timothy props, because like, while I look at it, I'm like, oh, you didn't quite nail the little bits and things here and there all the time, and some of the line reads were a little bit more than I wanted them to be. I feel like that's just because I'm comparing it to the thing that they are emulating, but they're also doing something new with this. Like, I liked his character where he was kind of an idiot, but he's also very smart, and that balance is always kind of hard. Like, to have somebody that can't read but also knows how to do all this stuff, you need to play that off right. And I think that they kind of did.
They did.
Which was impressive.
He has that moment where she's like, how did you never learn to read? And he has a very great, innocent way of saying, is like, I put most of my efforts in the study of chocolate tiering and magic, and that's all I want to do. And you're like, there's something very endearing about that, where it's like, hey man, I don't know how to do a lot of shit, because I focus mostly on building things like this. I like that.
And I liked too, like, magic. Like, they literally talk about magic in this.
But it works, right? He pulls shit out of his hat and it's believable in the universe. You have any idea how hard that is to set up like that? Joey mentioned Into the Woods. We've seen other things. Like, the only other movie I've seen really kind of do this well is like the Harry Potter series, where like, you've just created this world that I 100% buy into because it's creative and it's fun. And like, I didn't love the music, but I liked the music numbers because I thought the choreography was inventive. With the balloon stuff, when he's flying around and he stops for a second and then she picks him back up, it's just fun. It's very creative, and that's kind of. And then the garden, when we go into that, all like the cherries and the way those were like painted, I was like, this just looks good, and that's what it should look like, right? And it wasn't like a blank palette like the Johnny Depp version.
The cartel musical number got me. When they're in there in the spotlights.
Come on. All three of those guys killed it for me. I love those guys.
The moment Keegan-Michael Key going, like, why am I singing? Like, I'm joining this. I didn't really mean to.
But here's the other thing we got to talk about, right? Is like, I mentioned the supporting cast. And this, again, we talk about Timothee Chalamet. He's the lead in this movie. Overall, I think he nailed it more than he didn't. But it's so hard to be great when the people that you're sharing a scene with and or the scene you just came off of was Keegan-Michael Key walking in and be like, all right, nothing to see here, even though people are defying the laws of physics. And he says this line, and I get to laugh at me because everything he does, I don't know why he's doing like a New York Italian accent, but it's hilarious, right? It's so fun. And then him just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and him just like yearning for chocolate like it's a drug.
It doesn't quite hit the same as that one line.
Yeah, I mean, and like Olivia Colman is like an Academy or a Golden Globe winning actress, and she's phenomenal in this. And so like them sharing a scene, it's tough to not be overshadowed by the sheer volume.
Mr. fucking Bean.
Mr. Bean's in this.
Goddamn Bean. Yeah. When he showed up, everyone gasped. Like, it was a moment.
Here's a question for you guys. Has Mr. Bean, with the exception of when he played Mr. Bean, has Rowan Atkins ever been anything different than the character he plays in this movie?
No.
And do we care?
I mean, Rat Race, right? Like,
But
he was the exact same character.
thing.
yeah.
He's always kind of a dumbass. It's great.
You find what works for you and you just commit to it.
I mean, I do here.
I found it just a tiny bit jarring with like what we're used to Timothee Chalamet acting like in movies. It's usually like, I mean, based on what I've seen, it's always like somewhat kind of serious-ish roles. And there are moments in here where he is being very genuine and sincere with whoever he's speaking to. It's usually Noodle in those scenes because that's when they kind of talk about his past and his family and his mother. And those scenes are like beautiful and really well done, I thought. And we see like the acting chops on display. It's like, goddamn, this dude is good. And then it kind of, on the flip side of it, I get like not full Johnny Depp, but the moments where he's like, and you want to make sure you're doing this, and we're also doing that. And it's like, oh, there's like a disconnect here that I'm kind of feeling where I probably would have preferred an actor that I didn't know because I'm based, or unless it was like a comedic actor that I'm used to seeing being silly a lot, which is why I threw out the Jim Carrey line during, I think, the first review. We're like, wow, if they would have had, instead of Depp, Jim Carrey be Wonka, like somebody that we're used to kind of being this silly, wild, I guess like presence on stage or on screen or whatever.
Too busy doing Lemony Snicket.
Similar. I mean, kind of similar vibes,
Very
whimsy.
similar vibe, yeah.
That Sonic, it's like he's built for these kinds.
Oh,
of
yeah.
movies.
And the woman, one of the downstairs people was from Sonic 1 and 2.
The operator or the
No, and she was also in White Lotus.
Oh yeah.
What was her job in this?
She's like kind of the head person downstairs.
Yeah.
Oh
She's
yeah,
the
yeah,
one who
yeah,
made
yeah,
the
yeah.
city.
She's funny.
She taught him about like how to escape
the
through the sewers and
thing
everything.
and all.
The other lady was, I think she played a teacher in Sex Education, which I know you guys have not
Phone
watched.
operator?
Yeah, the phone operator, but she's funny in that as well.
Yeah.
Good,
But
Great casting.
again, all that being said, I still want to say that like I'm still surprised that I didn't feel completely like turned off by Timothee Chalamet. Who could? Let's be honest. Like turned off by his performance because I still thought it was still not. I was expecting the worst. And I still don't think he quite 100% nailed it, but he did far better than I thought he would have done based on what I saw in the trailers and based on what I know about what he brings to, the screen.
I agree. I think again, you're talking about a guy who's got really good dramatic acting chops,
Yeah.
but comedy is hard.
Yeah.
Comedic timing is hard, especially when you're dealing with a lot of greats that are around you. So
Yeah, he does have several good moments, I think.
he had a lot of
is
good moments.
in the whimsy kind of positive tone that really work for me. And sometimes it has to do with the scene, but sometimes when he's all on his own, when we are getting that, we'll get to it in the plot.
We'll get to the plot. Real quick before we get to the ads and the plot and stuff, I do want to say, I was talking about the post-credit tease that we get, which is really funny. So we get the credits, and it's an Oompa Loompa song that kind of like Hugh Grant comes out and he does a song. I love that they did the same dance still. Fucking great. And he kind of gives the like plot update of like what happens to all the characters after the movie. Really inspired. They did a great job with that. It ends with like this like mid-credit scene of Olivia Colman's character and the guy kind of like getting in trouble with the cops, of them being like getting caught for the bullshit that they did. I didn't know this until looking at the Wikipedia. Their attempt to eliminate evidence of the sabotage of Willy Wonka's shop backfires on them, which turns them into the Twits. The Twits is another Roald Dahl book. The Twits is a 1980s children's novel, first published by Jonathan Cape by British author Roald Dahl. The story features the Twits, a spiteful, idle, unkempt couple who continuously play nasty practical jokes on each other to amuse themselves and exercise their devious wickedness on their pet monkeys.
Oh.
And
There you go.
I've seen this book before.
Yeah.
I have too.
1000%.
I thought what you were going to say is that, they moved to England and then their fucking sister's kid was an orphan and he was killed by an evil wizard.
Oh my God.
I thought they were going to become
hilarious.
the uncle and aunt, whatever the hell their
yeah.
names are.
Dursleys.
Yeah,
Dursley,
Dursleys.
But yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like a little obscure thing there for you. I'm sure there's like one person popping off somewhere like, the Twits! We're going to get to, thank you very much for that, Kev. We're going to get to the plot in just a second after a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Xreal. Turn any game you're playing from any console, PC, or handheld into a 130-inch virtual big screen with Xreal AR glasses. Available now at xreal.com and Amazon. Xreal AR glasses usher in the era of wearable displays and are perfect for gaming, watching movies and TV, working at a desk, or checking out augmented reality apps. Xreal AR glasses connect to Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, plug directly into your Steam Deck, ROG Ally, PCs, Macs, iPhone, Android. You see where I'm going with this. Kevin Coelho has been playing with the new Xreal Air 2 Pro glasses and unsurprisingly is absolutely obsessed with them.
It's awesome.
It's the big screen experience, perfect for using on the go or at home for playing games anywhere on the biggest screen possible. The picture you see is crisp. The built-in speakers give you rich audio. The glasses are lightweight, only 2.5 ounces. And because you control where the virtual screen appears, you can rest your head, neck, and shoulders comfortably without getting any of that tech neck you get when you're staring down at the screen. You can get your Xreal AR glasses now at xreal.com or Amazon. This episode's brought to you by ZBiotics. We all have busy lives these days, and we can't afford to waste a day stuck on the couch because a few drinks the night before. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol is the answer we've all been waiting for. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have a ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. This holiday season, give your family a gift they'll actually want and use with ZBiotics. Go to zbiotics.com/kindafunny to get 15% off your first order when you use KindaFunny at checkout. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/kindafunny and use the code KindaFunny at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. This time of year can be a lot. Having to figure out, am I getting a gift for this person? Am I not? Whether or not your family gives gifts during the holidays, you get to define how you give to yourself. And the holidays are a great time to do just that with therapy. You can get out of your negative thought cycles and find some mental and emotional peace, and it can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind. Some of my best friends use BetterHelp and love how helpful it can be for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself, and it isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/kindafunny today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/kindafunny. BetterHelp.com/kindafunny.
Timothy, look how he is a Hollywood sensation. He's so fine. That jawline. Masturbation.
Yes.
I couldn't say. I didn't know a third
No,
word.
it's good. It's perfect.
There's not a whole lot of words that
perfect.
rhyme.
Ladies
How
and
was yours
gentlemen.
somehow more than Nick's off camera?
It could have been
one?
sexualization. I don't know what. There's not a whole lot of Asian words, you know.
It's hard. It's
Yeah.
really hard.
A lot of them.
It
No,
was
it's
the whole time.
Joe, you've never, when you're up on that stage, you don't know what the lights feel like. They're blinding.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wonka. And I'll be honest with you, until I saw the title of this movie, I thought it was called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory again. I knew nothing about this movie going into it. But I see Wonka and I think, okay, this is cool.
Didn't think about where to go either.
I thought about where to go. It was just, I was led astray.
Okay.
Fucking.
Some
Joey.
say purposely, some say mistakenly. I don't know. Luckily, I booked my own ticket for this. Otherwise, I would have wound up in the world's smallest
yeah.
theater. Anyway,
Strayer, did I just give you enough rope to do it?
same difference. Is it a lie or is it an omission? A lie by
The
omission.
movie starts with.
The movie starts off with pure imagination. I'm thinking to myself, all right, we have some old touchstones here, which is great. We don't, of course, go into pure imagination yet. We find Willy Wonka, an aspiring magician and chocolatier, arriving at an unnamed European city, is what the Wikipedia says. And he gets there and he goes to the Galleries Gourmet. And this is our first dance number / singing number. I couldn't tell you what this sounded like or the name, whatever the piece was.
No, so I liked, like, I didn't like the beginning of it, but like the boat stuff just threw me off. I don't know, something about the look of it. I was like, oh, this isn't.
It's very CG.
It didn't look too good, and like it wasn't as ugly as Johnny Depp's movie, but it didn't fill me with confidence.
Right.
But that pretty quickly like went away. Like with this piece, I liked him going around, and although I can't remember anything about the song like lyrics wise, I liked the concept of him having the sixpence none the richer or whatever the fuck, and like losing them and like him losing it in a bunch of different
that was
ways.
cute,
The
that was
kid
cute.
like it's like there was something about it that like set the
Sovereigns.
scene.
Sovereigns.
Yeah, thought it was kind of cool, but it just wasn't what I expected. But you need that ease in.
And I think they realize that. They're like, look, we're just going to rip off the Band-Aid and hit you with the song right off the rip. And it's a musical, and that's what it is. But nice character moments from him. He's very giving. He's very, he has 2 sovereigns left. He just says, take how many you need to the mother in need. And then he's got 1 left. And then he flips it up into the air callously, puts it in the pocket, and it goes right through the hole in his pocket. Tells us everything, and done. Down the storm drain.
I
Tells us
did like
everything we
when
need to know.
musical bit broke into just silence to let a couple of the lines get delivered. I like when they play with this song doesn't have to keep on going. We can hit pause on a moment to have a character interrupt you. Like I love when they play with the reality of that.
We are introduced to the police officer characters, one of whom I can't remember, but the other is Keegan-Michael Key. We see them. We see the Gallery Gourmet. We see that there are 3 chocolatiers.
No
in this world.
daydreaming.
Yeah, no daydreaming, and that's his that's his final whatever the thing is. We see the shop that he wants to make his, which is the one and only shop that's up for rent in the Gallery Gourmet, and then we get introduced to sort of the other 3 chocolatiers, who we will later learn are a cartel of chocolatiers, which is an inspired and genius choice. I do want to again point out, I don't know how much of this movie was CG, so either CG in this movie is phenomenal, or they built a lot of these sets practically, and that's great. Because I think when you're doing dance numbers, and I think when you're doing big production numbers, and you're moving people around, wire work goes a long way.
There's a lot of that in this,
and it works. It doesn't. It's not 100% perfect, and it's fine because it's better than starting your movie off with a river of fake CG chocolate and then having everything just be like nothing. It's blank, right? At least like give people physical stuff to dance around, and then hire badass dancers to dance around them, and everyone that dances moves great. Anyway, he is down to his last sovereign. And enter the Bavarian, I think was his. I don't know the guy's name. I meant to look it up, but I did not.
Yeah, he's like, you'll freeze out here, man.
You'll freeze out here. We get the first little hint of.
This guy's also incredible in Paddington too.
Oh yeah,
I'm very excited for you guys to watch.
I would like. I think I only watched the first like 30 minutes of the first Paddington, and I got sidetracked. I think Dee and I were traveling, and we just had to shut it off.
It's the only reason Elise Williams is disappointed in me that I haven't seen.
The only reason.
That's it. We get a first hint of magic here as well, where he takes his hat off and takes all the things out of his hat.
Dude, it's great.
This is the moment where I'm like, I started going, oh, okay, I'm in. I like
it's such
this movie.
a funny, simple thing where it's like, I honestly, I feel like everybody had the same moment of like him putting the hat down and pulling stuff out. It's like, oh, they're not even trying to come up with dumbass like excuses for like, and then he learned how to get his chocolate mojo, and then this. It's like, no, it's like he does this stuff. He's magic. Fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
And like it just kind of sets the stage for the rest of the movie to be fantastical in a way that like I'm bought in. Cool.
And it's a tough line to skate because you have to have characters occasionally question things, but nobody really questions why he can just pull things out of his hat because he's quote a magician.
Yeah,
works. Leave it be. No more explanation needed. Anyway, he gets conned into going to the Scrubbits, Mrs. Scrubbits, for a night, and she has him sign a contract. But before she does, of course, Noodle pops up and says, "Read the fine print," and he pulls out the thing. I love this. A little reference to the original contract that Willy Wonka had all the kids sign, where like the print goes so much,
which is
smaller.
a little weird to me. Like, there's a couple things watching. It's funny because I had moments watching this movie last night that made me think, like, what? Who said that line? I've heard this before. Like, I don't remember exactly where I placed it. And we just watched the movie like 2 weeks ago, so it's not like I don't know why I can't place it, but I thought that was weird because it kind of was set up as like he got played by this. Like the whole plot of this movie is that like those people were bad for doing that. So does he have some fucking villain turn at some point? Like to still do that when he's doing like to have a contract that way?
That's what I thought. I thought he just didn't care, but then it turns out he can't read it, so he just signed the contract.
I know, but for him to then, I know like the universe
to implement
that
it,
up, but to implement that in his chocolate factory contest.
Later down the road.
That I was like, I don't like this. Like this feels like a bad kind of like origin story to a concept.
I don't think they're gonna bring that.
I think the contract in his factory was just mostly played for goofs. I don't know if that was ever a like they should have read the contract or else they wouldn't have fallen in the river. Like at that point, it's still all their fault for what they did. I thought that was just played as a silly visual gag.
Yeah, to me that was yet another of those instances where you're like, is
he a
everything
bad
in
guy
his or is he a good guy? I don't know. It's meant to throw you off.
And then there was a couple lines that the Oompa Loompa says that I'm pretty sure Gene Wilder says in the original. Like, thank you, Kevin. That like there was multiple times. I can't remember.
What it is. But it's the same line that I think he repeats like a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have. There was one other line that I think was an homage to the original one where he says "flip it."
Yeah,
like ladies and gentlemen, we have plenty of time or whatever, and lots to listen to or whatever. It's like, no, stop.
Yeah,
that, whatever, like that.
And that was the line in the trailer. I was like, ooh, I don't know if this is quite gonna work because he says in Gene Wilder's thing, it's we have so little to do and so much time. Wait, reverse that or whatever. And here he says, so quiet up and come on. Or what does he say? Quiet down and I forget what he says, but
I
it's
have
something like
listen.
instead of
supposed to be
quiet
listen.
down, he says quiet up.
Listen up and quiet down.
Yeah.
There it is.
So anyway, he comes home, gets the room. Tomorrow is the big day. He's going to go make his big presentation. He heads to the Gallery Gourmet, puts a little stump up, gets up there and gets everyone's attention, and he presents his first bit of candy to the public ever. And that is, I forget what the name of the candy is, but this candy is going to come back later. This is a good setup.
But
This is the floating candy.
Yeah, the fizzy.
The fizzy was whatever.
Chocolate.
Whatever that is. Yeah, I forget what the name of it was.
I do love really quickly just that the initial line of how much this dude knows he's got it when he's talking to that dude who works there with the lady. I don't know any of these characters. Scrub it.
When Bleacher is the other guy.
When he's talking to him and he's like, shit, I mean, you got to go to this place. They're going to charge you. He's like, oh, it's okay. By this time tomorrow, I'll be rich or whatever. Like, I love that he just has that confidence because he knows I'm going to go to the town square and I'm going to become rich as shit because I am so confident in all of the stuff that I make.
I love the shot too that like backs that up, even of him in front of the place, like doing the song and dance stuff. Then it cuts to like reality of people looking at him, but like in his mind, and he's still dancing there. It's like,
that was hilarious.
This is very well done. Very cool.
He is selling hover chalks, apparently is what Wikipedia says. They go over very, very well, and they get the attention of Mr. Slugworth, Mr. Prodnose, and Mr. Fickelgruber.
Costume design off the charts. On these
phenomenal.
Guys. So good. Such great colors. I was very stressed though because there was a lot of chocolate flying around, and there was a lot of attention paid to this one little puppy that was just chilling there. You can't be giving dogs chocolate.
you cannot.
They'll fart.
Can't do it. I was worried. They're going to give it to him. They did.
Fart and die.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fart.
In
They
that
do
order.
die as well.
Very good.
At first,
Very
they're
good.
like, we'll try this candy. And they're like, oh my gosh, I've never had anything quite like this. And he's like, you see, he goes, it's terrible. Get out of here. They get the cops to arrest him. They take all the fun. They take all the candy. And Wonka goes back to the Scrubbits, downtrodden, forlorn, and pretty much defeated. Of course, it's there. He is hit with a $10,000 bill because of all the amenities that he used. Oh, you sat by the fire. You had a glass of gin.
All
You
the
used the
steps.
stairs twice. So they had to go up and down.
Great writing here. Yeah.
Great writing there. Well, if you can't pay your bill, you're basically imprisoned down and throw him into the down. They throw him down the laundry chute, and that is where he goes down the laundry chute, and he meets all of the people who have also been scammed by Mrs. Scrubbit. The fun little cast of characters. One character I didn't love was the comedian.
I wonder why.
Man, you teed him up for that one, Vic.
unfunny, maybe out of touch.
Oh, wow. Okay. Fair. No, that's not it. I just don't.
He
like,
only
yeah.
had that one good underwater line thing.
Oh my God. It got me
every
I don't
time.
think I've ever heard Andy laugh harder than when they brought it back the last time.
The problem is, Andy, if you laugh at them, they think that you like them, and they keep going.
That is the problem.
That's the problem.
we
But
have
no,
learned
I
that.
do agree. He like a lot of the initial things that he was doing to try to be funny as this comedian. I did enjoy like the divorced wife thing, whatever. But for most of it, I'd say like I enjoyed him the least until they introduced I can talk like I'm underwater.
Yeah.
And then they used it 3 more times, and it was just as funny every time.
Well, the fact that he actually builds it into the plan, which doesn't need to be built into the plan, he just kind of throws him a bone, is hilarious.
And you say under there, octopus. It was great, man.
So we're introduced to they're down there forever. Noodle is also introduced at some point here. We get the dog that's guarding the door. They can't get out of here. They're all going to be there. He's going to be there for 27 years, folding laundry and washing, doing all the washing, bleaching, all that stuff. Later that night, Noodle comes in to give him his dinner, which is this slosh crap. And she's like, "Why'd you do that?" And he's like, "I don't know. I believed in myself." We get to know her a little bit. She's got orphan syndrome. She's been orphaned. She has a little N on her on a pendant ring, or what do they call those? Signet ring. And so she doesn't know where she's from, but she's like, you know, what are you gonna do? He's like, well, I'm a chocolatier. And she's like, I've never had chocolate. He's like, oh my God, you got to have chocolate right now. But she's like, but this situation's hopeless. So of course, what does he do? He makes her a chocolate that has a little bit of a silver lining and a little bit of lightning for inspiration, which I
This
love.
whole little kit thing is so
This was
fun.
incredible. Like
Takes
this
out the
was
cat.
really freaking cool.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I think this is here where we get the flashback of the mom, which is Sally Hawkins, who's been in a bunch of
Incredible.
stuff.
I
She's
just
great.
love the glimpses of the inside of the potion, seeing like the thunder inside one
Yeah.
of them, the
Warm,
sunlight and the bottled up sunlight, like all that stuff was so damn imaginative.
I always love that. She at this point, we get a great scene with her where she was like, she taught him how to make chocolate. He was like, no matter what I do, I've never.
Mom, teach you how to read. No.
No, you're gonna make chocolate. You're gonna have a good skill. We get the setup of basically her saying, like, he's like, I've never been able to kind of replicate her chocolate because she never told me the secret ingredient. And she said, well, you know what? When you launch your chocolate shop and you introduce your chocolate to the public, I'll be right there next to you and I'll tell you what the secret ingredient is. And she writes it down on a golden ticket, sticks it in the Wonka chocolate, and then she, as an artist, draws his logo and gives him that bar of chocolate to open, presumably the next day, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't really want to be carrying this chocolate with you for 30 years.
In a movie where people are eating
30
chocolate
years.
and flying and shit, and like the people are talking like underwater animals and all this, I don't think any of us bought into the moment that he opens the chocolate towards the end and starts eating it. I'm like, don't do that. Don't
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
bad for
chocolate's
it.
bad.
You know, it's gonna be like chalky.
Everlasting Wonka bar, dude.
Well, I did like that kind of like setup there, though,
Yeah.
where he was just like, imagine if it would last forever. I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh."
you do kind of wave it a little bit by because he does say, hey, you know, like shortly thereafter, my mom fell ill and passed away, and so you buy that he would never have opened it up for a very long time. Anyway, Noodle's like, well, we're screwed. It doesn't matter. And he goes, and then she gets an inspiration of idea. He's like, well, that's the silver lining, or that's like the lightning or whatever.
The light bulb
The
moment.
light bulb moment. He has
So
a light bulb
cool.
moment where it's basically like, all I need to do is keep selling my candy.
A double O, or what did you say?
Yeah, and I'll pay off everyone's debt. We'll get everyone out of here. And he's like, if you help me, I'll give you a lifetime supply of chocolate, and we'll be partners. And she agrees too, but she's like, you know, how are we gonna distract them? We need an aristocrat. So they hatch this scheme where Bleacher is this long lost Bavarian aristocrat, and they'll fall in love. And surely enough, the next day that works. And he comes in wearing she's like, where'd you get them dungaroos?
Well, yeah, he walks up to him and he's like, "Hey, man, she's been looking at you." He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, dude,
Oh,
like
she loves
she's super into you, dog."
And I'll tell you this.
And he was like, "You got to show thigh," because
Gotta
he's
show
doing a
thigh.
bunch of rhymes, and he's like, all the rhymes that he's doing are kind of like encouraging this man to show more of himself off and comb his hair or whatever. And if you want to not die, you got to show thigh. I forget the exact rhyme, but
Yeah.
it's stuff like that. It's very cool and well written.
Very well done. Of course, the next day he goes to sell his candy, but he cannot sell his candy because it has been stolen. And she goes, well, who stole it? And he goes, every so often, every couple weeks, after I've done a new batch of candy, a little green man with orange hair sneaks in and he steals my candy. And she goes, couldn't it be possible that you're just eating your candy at night without knowing it? And he goes, that makes more sense. That makes a lot more sense. And so we're like, oh, we don't know if the Oompa Loompa is real. Of course, we've seen the trailer, so maybe it's a hallucination. We don't know. Chocolate
But
makes you do
before
funny things.
he escapes, he has the dog
Oh, right. So
kind
this
of
is, yes.
He uses his ingenuity and his kind of master craft skills to make this machine that does all the scrubbing for everybody who's in the basement, because they have to like scrub all their clothes and laundry and all that. Scrub. You have that little cool.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, if you ever have a song that's like boom, 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 I was like, all right, this is a cool musical bit right here. I'm into it.
Let's get some plot going.
Yeah.
Love the sort of callbacks here, design wise, to the machine that makes the gum and the
Yeah.
everlasting Gobstopper. The smoke popping out, all that stuff. That was very, very, very reminiscent of the original Wonka, which I appreciated.
I love it because like every once in a while I'll go to the bathroom in a movie, and when I come back, like usually whoever I'm sitting next to, Gia or Andy in this case, will just be like, here's what you missed. If there's any like here's like the key words, you know what I mean? Or normally it's you didn't miss anything because I try to time my PPs appropriately.
Yeah,
right?
you have a good feeling for it.
I got the vibe, right?
Good
Your
PP
PP
time.
feels good.
But last night I sit next to Andy. And Andy
wink
tries
at me
to
for
catch
saying
up
that.
on what I missed, and like you did a great job, but also it was just this movie's so weird that it's just I sit there and goes, hey, he thinks that the Oompa Loompa is coming in at night to steal his stuff, and then the dog helped to clean all the things. And then, I was like, thank you, Andy.
I'll be honest with you, my mouth was moving, but I was also trying to listen to what was happening.
It's just like, all right.
They got to make more chocolate. And he's like, all they need is milk. And she goes, well, we got milk right here. And she goes, and then another character moment where he's like, that's stealing. We don't steal from people, but also that's just normal milk.
That's like Jigsaw. We don't kill. I hate murder.
We need a special milk. We need a giraffe milk. And she's like, well, there's a giraffe at the zoo. So I have to go to the zoo.
I love how unfazed she is too by like the giraffe milk. It's like, of course you do.
Sure.
We get another little nod to the candy from the original one where they give the guard at the zoo. I love the payoff of this.
Oh my
the guard at the zoo, the candy that hits 3 times like the meal right? So it's like a nice dinner and then a night out of dancing, and then you get a little too drunk and you call your ex and he calls her and tells her that she loves him, and she's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "We were in grade school together. We sat next to each other in chemistry or whatever it was," and then he passes out.
And just the artistic choice to have it just be that silhouette in that little office was so cool.
Yeah.
Is this movie good?
I think it's good. I really do think it's good.
Yeah.
All that's great, right? All that stuff works. They go in, of course. He goes in to talk to the giraffe, and he doesn't read the door because he can't read, and it's a tiger. Yep. And he shuts it, and she's like, "What's going on?" He goes like, "I don't really know how to read." She's like, "You should learn, because you almost got killed by a tiger." He's like, "If I had a nickel for every time I've gotten like nipped at by something," he's like, he has some parlance there where he says that, which is cute. And off we go into the giraffe. And at first, Noodle, who's never seen a giraffe, is freaked out by this. But Wonka puts her at ease by scratching underneath the giraffe's chin. And let me tell you, man, I've met a couple of giraffes in my life. I went to Giraffe
Don't
Park.
wink. Like, why'd you wink at me? You said that.
He winked at me earlier too, and I don't like it.
He's done it, Joe.
And man, these are majestic creatures. They really, really are. And I think CG here, pretty great.
Yeah.
Still, you can tell, but cute, right? Very, very well animated, this thing. Of course, he asks, "Hey, can we have some of your milk? If my friend gives you a nice, good scratch underneath the chin." And Abigail, the giraffe's like, "Absolutely, you can." And this is where they learn a little bit more about each other. I think this is where she tells them the backstory of like.
She does that little song.
Yeah.
Talking about how like, being sad. I forgot the lyrics. Very forgettable. Very forgettable.
And then we got the flamingo set up before it's going into the zoo. She's like, "Why are they all here? Why don't they fly?" He goes, "Maybe they just need someone to show them how." And then as they're about to leave, they're chased out, and they find the balloons, and they grab the balloons, and actually maybe they're not chased out. They just grab the balloons, and they float off. And as they float off, all the flamingos pop up too. And you're like, that's a stunning moment. It looks beautiful, very beautifully shot and done. Surely these flamingos won't come back in the third act as a fun beat. And they do.
Yeah.
Everything that's set up comes back, and it's very validating and pays off. We have I think this is one of the most stunning things in the movie with them floating around. Of course, they're seen by the cops. At this point, I don't know, potentially, I think maybe we've been introduced now to the chocolate cartel down in the basement of this monastery or the Catholic church or whatever it is. We've got the
we get
silent
the big
assassin.
reveal, though, of Mr. Bean, where he goes into the church,
confessional.
All right,
and then it's like an elevator, right?
Yes,
and it's like he trades the chocolate to get to like go down. It's like there's like this whole secret base underneath the church.
Very cool.
Awesome.
This cabal.
Yeah. First reveal also of like the chocolate being like so good, it's like smack to everyone, right? They go down, of course, and this is where he talks to the three heads of Slugworth. By the way, I think is standout. I think the actor is phenomenal in this.
Where is he from, man?
I meant to look it up beforehand, but I do know that the other guy that kept saying "and then we kill them" was one of the hosts on Great British Bake Off last season. So shout out to that guy. He also played
in Bridesmaids.
Yes, he played the sister.
No,
or the brother.
Yeah.
Excuse me. He played what's her
Kristen
name?
Wiig's roommate's brother.
Remember they were like twins.
What's her name?
God.
I always want to call her Fatty.
Rebel Wilson.
There we go.
Yeah,
but that's the wrong movie.
Anyway, this is great. They set up, look, we got a guy out there selling chocolate. You got to put the squeeze on them. And they bribe him with I think they start at like 70 boxes of chocolate and wind up at like 1,800 or something like that. And of course he says yes. Love all of this.
It's just
the sequence is great. Beautifully done. We pop back up. Wonka's made his chocolate at this point, and he's like, look, this is where he sells the chocolate, but then he gets caught by the head of police, who dunks his head, and he's like, did you get the message? He's like, I didn't. You keep putting water in my ear. He's like, oh, okay. Look, man, I don't want to be doing this. I'm going to break it down to you. I just want you to stop selling chocolate or else. And he's like, okay. He's like, and then he has the beat of having to bonk him on the head to teach him a lesson. So defeated once again, we go back, and this is where I think this is where we get the scene where all four of them are there, where he's like, we need to, if only you could disappear like a magician. And then one person goes, oh, well, I know where the lady goes, I know where the sewers are. You could just pop down there. We could use the sewer system or the storm drain system like it is a network. And then someone else is like, no, you'd have to do this and the calls and all that. So then they get the team together. Love the team
I
building
just
moment.
did not
Love a
expect
heist
the getting the team together
Me
moment
neither.
in this movie. It was great.
Everybody had their things to kind of contribute with.
It's punctuated by the we get to know everyone a little bit here too, but it's punctuated by the accountant who used to be Slugworth's accountant.
I know where I remember Slugworth from.
Where is he from?
The Leftovers.
Oh, yeah.
I never
He
watched
plays
that.
a character in The Leftovers that charges people. He hugs you and heals you. and he's a guy you go to because you have this immense grief because 3% of the world's population disappeared out of nowhere. So you come to him, and he's like, you just hug him, and he's so fucking unsettling and great. Oh man, he's so good. When he smiled, I was like, I know that sinister, weird smile from somewhere.
Also in The Beach and Aeon Flux.
Aeon Flux is a movie I haven't thought about in a while.
Wow, Charlize Theron. Wow,
That's all I got.
why did I say that wrong?
The scene's punctuated, I think, in a great way by the accountant, who has also been in a bunch of stuff. He's a very famous British actor. Cannot remember his name for the life of me right now.
Yeah, who is he? Like his voice, he did some VO somewhere.
He sounds a lot like the new Dumbledore,
Jim
but it's not
Carter.
Dumbledore. Yeah, Jim Carter's. I've seen him.
Transformers: The Last Night. He's Cogman.
There you go.
Oh,
Downton Abbey, which
Downton
is I
Abbey,
think
that's
what
what he's
most
from.
people are going
That's
to
where I went
recognize
with.
him from.
Right.
Cogman. Do you
Shakespeare
remember
in
Cogman?
Love.
no, but I got to assume he also played a voice like in Dark Souls 1 or something. You know what I mean? Like all these dudes have such great voices.
He was the butler.
Oh, of course. How could I forget?
He's great in this. He, of course, is like, this will never work. You guys are ridiculous. This is never going to work. And then Noodle goes, try this chocolate. He puts it in his mouth and immediately goes, when do we start? Off we go. This is the fun and games section of this movie. We're selling. He goes into the square, sells all of his cool candies. Everyone's in love with these
This is
candies.
awesome.
Everywhere he goes, he's got to escape. My favorite one is the train sequence, or the trolley car sequence, where he has to jump through the little compartment of the floor and goes right down into the sewer system.
But everybody's but the fact that the candy there breaks you out into a musical, so everybody in that train starts
good.
acting like they're in a musical. But I love the most like creative, funny, clever line that nobody will remember: the hair repair eclair.
Oh, from the
You
barbershop.
eat the hair repair eclair to grow your hair back.
That
And the
stupid little
shot
hairless
of
cat.
the cat, dude. It was just great.
Yeah, it
One
was
second.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's you're on the hairless cat. You're on the hairless cat. You're on the hairless cat. It cuts to the guys. They eat it. Their hair starts growing back. You cut back to the cat. It's fluffy. That's it.
It's perfect.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Perfect beat of comedy there. Everything's going great. The accountant's like, oh my God, the profits are going up, 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 up. We see the little red dot behind him like move. And I'm always a sucker for that kind of like motion graphic stuff in here. And it's good.
We have it going down for the other chocolatiers.
Yes, they're pissed off.
Good.
Their profits are gone. Of course, we keep going, and at some points he escapes one last time, but they find a little shred of cloth, and they go, "Oh, they're using the storm drains, so we can set a trap." You guys will have to help me out here. He figures out.
Oh, they end up. We cut to a shot of all of them seeing of the three. So the cartel seeing all of them jumping into the drain, right, into the
right.
sewer, and he's like, "It's 5 of them. It's this and that. It's that, and it's that girl."
And it's the girl.
You know, and
And then Slugworth,
they're
of
like
course,
the girl. Yeah,
Slugworth knows who the girl is. He realizes, oh,
we don't know
I
that yet, though.
I know where she is, and I know how to get to them, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we see him knocking on the door of Scrubbit and Bleacher, who have now started a torrid love affair. Hilarious.
Yeah, and she's basically only into him because she thinks that he's
Got money.
this super rich. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But also those thighs were looking
got
great.
those
He bent
thighs.
over, looked great.
so fun. Tim, let's get some later, Hosen. Later.
Deal.
Cool. This is where we get the sequence, right? We finally got enough money to open our dream shop. They surprise him by renting it for him, and he's like, "This is perfect. It's got great bones, great foundation. We can build a lot here. We'll launch the next day." They get a lot done in that day.
Oh yeah.
A lot done.
Magic
Oh,
goes
yeah.
a long way.
Magic goes a long way the
World
next
of
day.
your own. That's the song.
Yeah.
Would have forgotten it. It was just kind of like a glimpse of
Yeah,
a memory, and I
yeah.
was like, "Oh, there we go." But that was a nice like kind of big band like ensemble. I enjoyed the music part of it, but you still kind of wanted it to be
Pure imagination.
Pure imagination. And I thought it was gonna hit, and I was a little bit disappointed, but I still was really digging the actual music and the art in all of it, like the set, all of the moving kind of like. That little
tree, everything
rotating
around the chocolate tree,
Yeah, all
all
of
that
that was
stuff was
so
great.
cool looking.
Beautifully done. Big fan of the clouds of cotton candy where they're making them and he pops up and puts a little cotton candy in his mouth. All this very inventive.
I really liked. I mean, Andy was talking about earlier the scene of them doing all the stuff and the candy itself making them break out into Broadway musical stuff. Where it's like that's in the movie that we're watching in the middle of a musical scene. There's like a meta-ness to it, and I enjoy that throughout this movie. Magic exists. He's a magician, and a lot of the stuff he's doing is sleight of hand type stuff. And I love that in this scene, so much of it is magical trees and magical cotton candy, and like he's popping around and flying in ways that's magical. But then there's also this like stage production side to it of all of them on the bikes, kind of
Right.
like making the rivers
Making
go.
it happen.
And I feel like that it just grounded's not the right word, but it kind of sets it in a place of like, to make the magic really real, there needs to be some staged craft. You know what I mean? There still needs to be some like in-world production happening. And like, I don't know, something about that I thought was just like very well pulled off.
Yeah.
I think it harkens back to never knowing if the original Wonka was just screwing with you, right?
Yeah.
Of never really pulling the curtain back and like revealing what's behind it. Because even when you watch that original one, you're like, is this magic or is this like all just stagecraft? Is this all like, does this machine really make this thing?
There's that tangible nature of watching these people like all together kind of having this be this grand opening, which, I mean, shout out to that era. You don't got to put a tweet out. You don't got to promote things for a while. It's just like you walk out, you're like, check this shit out, dog. Like,
I know there's 3 chocolate shops on this corner, but here's a 4th.
This is ours.
4th, lucky number 4.
I think it's the aspect for me of the fact that all of these whimsical things have like a very practical element that grounds it in a way. Because I think that's where the Johnny Depp one got lost, where it's like, we're going to do this all digitally. It's all going to be not on the volume, but like,
might as well.
Yeah, all of that stuff. So I think that grounding it into like physical things that these this crew of people can do makes it feel real.
Yeah.
I saw I was tagged in a TikTok, Joe, of Johnny Depp talking in an interview. And he's like, shut up to set. And he's doing that like fake British accent, even though he's not British. Shut up to set. And, I was asked, to bring up some sort of character for Willy Wonka. And I just walked up there and I was like, good morning, Starshine. The sun's going to smile at you today. and Tim Burton really liked it. And he was like, wow, you're really going for something there. And I was like, but did he like it?
Yeah.
Everybody thought it was cool. Fuck, man. It just sucks so bad. You doing it is my least favorite thing. Like, it's
but somehow,
body chills.
I'd rather listen.
Less than the Trump impression.
Oh,
I love
Trump.
Trump.
Good morning, Starshine. We're gonna. We guys are the biggest chocolate factory, the biggest river. We need to put a wall in that river.
Anyway,
but the wall will be edible.
all this scene goes wonderfully. It's beautiful until it doesn't. The guy who was just cashed out and gave them 100 sovereigns and took his change in edible change, which I thought was great. His hair turns green.
What a cool concept! The edible change is such a great concept.
Oh, don't forget to eat your basket or whatever it is too. Yeah, that's great. Of course, it goes south. Everyone starts having side effects. It turns out the chocolate has been poisoned. Wonka, not being an idiot, realizes like, oh man, they got to scrub it.
I love Timothy's like reaction to this. I love his acting in this moment where this woman's growing hair and he's like, everybody, like he like it in some moments where he is acting, it kind of feels like an SNL skit, but in like a really, really good way, like similar to when I think of the the papyrus font skit with
Avatar or whatever it is.
Yeah, where they're like and it's like very dramatic in ways. It's like sometimes it feels like a parody or a skit or something like that. But then when he breaks out into those moments, I fucking loved it. I loved him yelling. I had a great laugh. I thought he was like the panic that he felt of like, we've been poisoned. Like everybody, like it was awesome, dude. I loved this.
There's like a Michael Scott aspect of like just like
chaos.
Having no context for stuff.
You want it to be like, it just reminds me of like every time Will Ferrell. Do you ever see Zoolander?
Yes.
Where he's just like, obey my dog, that guy kind of thing. It's that moment of like he gets to that level in the scene. Anyway, everything gets lit on fire.
Keep cutting back to that lady or that old man. And the hair is just like crazy.
To me, I'm like, what's your problem, old man?
Yeah, big deal.
What's wrong with you? Die back and enjoy this thick head of hair.
There was one line here that was so fucking funny, like that a mom.
Yeah, she cuts the ropes of the chandelier falls. She's like, "This is what you'll get for mustaching my daughter."
Mustaching my daughter.
Everyone turns on them quickly. The whole thing burns to the ground. And then who should we see? The 3 cartel members who come in and offer him a deal. Leave town, never do chocolate again. We'll buy your friends out. We'll get them out of prison for all intents and purposes. And you just never come back here. He accepts it. Unfortunately, turns out they do let everyone out except for Noodle, who Slugworth has a personal vendetta against. She has actually been paid to stay there forever indefinitely. We find Wonka back on the tugboat alongside who should come. I think we missed. I'm sorry, I did miss the scene with the Oompa Loompa.
Yeah,
I can't believe I missed it.
Yeah, you did.
We'll go back a little bit. He's sleeping at night. Little ladder. little pitter patter of Oompa Loompa feet. And then they've set a trap, though. He gets trapped inside the glass. And I can't remember the phrase he uses, but he's like, "You've glassed me."
Yeah. Honestly, like
How
Hugh
dare you
Grant
glass me
recently
or
has had a
something
lot
like
of like
that.
I don't even remember what they were, but like he's said a lot of things, and I'm like I don't vibe with you as a person. Like I don't like.
Yeah, Hugh Grant's been marred in controversy for a long time.
You sound like an asshole. Like so, going into this, I'm like the beloved Oompa Loompas. Like you're gonna destroy my childhood, Hugh Grant. It's not like that, but it was just like I'm not looking forward to Hugh Grant. And goddamn, man. Slapped me in the face. I was wrong.
He
was-
the man is
Every
talented.
line was just perfect.
He was awesome, and I actually enjoyed the slightly off-putting CG because I felt like it just kind of it felt natural in this world that where when we saw everybody growing that hair, that didn't look super real either, but I was just okay in this world of just wild shit happening anyway. So like it's very clearly Hugh Grant because they did a great like job of just recreating his whole face through CG. But all the movements kind of had that weird animated nature, and it still just completely worked for me. I loved the scale of him as well.
He's so small compared to the other Oompa Loompas.
I thought it was awesome, man. I thought he did such a great job, and the idea that he was ousted from his
tallest one
from
He's
his
the tallest
island
one.
because you stole cocoa beans from us. No, I didn't. And he's like, well, I may have fallen asleep on the job. Like that was a great moment. Great moment.
So funny him being like, yeah, they call me lofty. He's like, I'm the tall one. I'm the tall one. Yeah, and like all that was great, but like I just can't believe how hyped this entrance was. Like they just start playing. They introduce the music in a way as if it was like. How the fuck does Hugh Grant's Oompa Loompa get this entrance and Tobey Maguire just fucking walks through a portal without any goddamn pomp and circumstance, no way home? You know what I mean? It makes no sense.
They
For
did.
audio listeners, Nick's doing a really good impression of Tobey Maguire. You look like a marionette, like somebody's like control.
Well, yeah, Tobey Maguire. He's always looking just a little too like high. Like you're not making Toby, eye contact with your fellow actors. Eye contact. He's always like,
Holy shit.
Like there's no brain activity. Toby, hey,
"Hey, Toby, somebody get Toby a snack. Get him a treat."
My favorite part about these Oompa Loompas and Hugh Grant is that they do the thing that every movie should do, which is you want more Oompa Loompas.
Yeah.
I think we came from Johnny Depp where we got a lot of Oompa Loompa that
Too
we
much
didn't
Oompa
need.
Loompa.
So I feel like they really pulled back on this one, which I appreciate.
with how much we saw of Hugh Grant, like in the trailer and just based on the interviews I'd heard, we were about 40 minutes in, and I'm like,
it feels like it's supposed to be like a buddy cop kind of thing.
Damn Oompa Loompa,
but
when
it's
is this
not.
son of a bitch gonna show up? And the music cue starts it off.
dude.
It was like, and then Tim leans over. He's like, "I'm so hyped right now." They're setting this up so perfectly, and again, the fact that he is also like just insanely smart with gadgetry and everything, and opening the window and picking the lock and got all this sort of doodads on him. Like, it's just so cool. I loved every moment of it.
It was so good. We get him, like all of it was great, but the moment of like the backstory that we get that we already kind of talked about here about like why he's now like going to retrieve this and like all that was so well done that we just don't see him for a bit. And then we get the scene where the chocolate cartel makes the deals and stuff and essentially banishes Wonka, puts him on this fucking tugboat and just sends him off. And then this turns into a full-on Saturday morning cartoon where we have the chocolate cartel chilling there waiting to watch the tugboat go away. The tugboat goes, Wonka is given a premium economy seat on this boat. A joke that I'm not sure was worth it, but it was to me.
It's funny.
Like,
Well,
it just seems
I think the reason it didn't fully work for me was because of the actor from the cartel who's delivering the line of what, it's premium economy, and they say you have more legroom, but is it really like? I didn't really love that explanation of it. I would have just laughed if they just said like, "Don't worry, we got you premium economy." Like, I think just those two lines are so relatable, right?
so about it worked
Yeah.
for me in a way. It was just goofy and like it felt like this is a kid's movie and it just didn't feel like a kid joke.
Right.
Which sometimes that happens. But they have this, and then for the Oompa Loompa, who I just didn't expect to be on the boat, for him to just come and sit there, open his little thing, make his little drink, and sit. I'm going flat.
But he also makes fun of the premium economy seat.
Just so
Like,
fucking
I
funny.
go first class.
Like all of that, I was just so in. It felt so funny, and like just Hugh Grant was just great there. And then when it's revealed that there's just a bunch of dynamite on the boat and they're about to explode, it was so like.
And he pulls on his
dumb.
inflatable vest, and he's like, "Peace out, dog." It's so good, man.
It's perfect. We pick back up there, of course. Wonka, the three cartel members watch as the boat explodes. They think their problem is solved. They go back. Noodle is thrown into the chicken coop once again. She's like, this sucks. She hears a noise outside. She's terrified of it. But who pops up? Wonka. And he's got a really, really long ladder. The accountant's there too. Everyone's there. They've come to Springer and they have an idea of how they can get everyone arrested and brought to justice. Before that, of course, he's like, I think I figured out who you are. Slugworth doesn't like you because you must be related to him. You're heir to the family fortune. All we got, yada, yada, yada. He's divined that. I think we get the whole backstory here where she was lied. The mother was lied to. She came to Slugworth because she was his brother's girl. They had a kid. The brother died, and then he's like, I'll take care of your child. Kicked her out, gave her a few sovereigns, and then kicked her to the curb, and then said the kid died. But in reality, he took her to scrub it, and she's been there for approximately 12 years. What do we think? 10, 15? How old is this kid?
Probably like 13.
13,
Yeah.
right?
Young kid.
Solid.
Remember that, because it's going to come back. It's going to be one of my only harsh criticisms of this film's by the end.
Okay.
So how do we get them back? Well, it turns out the accountant was accountant for a week. Forrest Slugworth knows they keep two diaries. One, and by the way, that's what they call a journal or like an accounting book, the diaries. Had to learn that the hard way. I watched a lot of British stuff, and someone's like, "You've got my diary."
I had
And
to
I'm like,
learn that the hard way. Nick, please explain to me what the hard way
Oh, okay.
is.
I'm watching a show called Fisk right now, which is really, really good. It's an Australian show, but they also call their ledgers diaries. And someone tries to steal her diary at one point because she has a client who's a klepto. And she goes, no, it's my diary. And I think to myself, why would you have a diary sitting on your... Because I'm used to diary being a teen writes in the diary. I love this person, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to go see Wonka today and annoy the 43-year-old next to me.
fucking took me to the prom or whatever. Now, Nick, what are your watching habits that you just suddenly start watching an Australian show? Like, who
Let me-
recommended this? How did
Let me.
you...
Okay, I'll answer your question by
Yeah.
finishing the story. My wife, sitting next to me, who had recommended the show for me because she watched the first season, was like, "No, Nick, they call their ledgers diaries. That's what they call that, right? They call their lawyers barristers. They have all sorts of different terms for things in
So
other countries.
learning the hard way is just Danielle telling you things.
Yeah, but when Danielle corrects you,
Listening.
that stinks.
There's a harshness to it.
That stinks.
Andy, you would actually probably really like this show
might.
because it's like New Zealand dry humor, but
Yeah, it might.
slightly less dry,
Okay.
or maybe slightly drier. I know. Anyway,
Okay.
very funny. Highly recommend. 2 seasons, 4 episodes, 5 episodes, easy peasy. 22 minutes. Anyway, long story short,
Concords.
we got it. We lay out the plan, and I love the animation here. We got to go. We got to get through 500 monks that are addicted to chocolate, down the elevator, through the assassin that never leaves, that never sees the light of day, and then into an impenetrable vault.
The way that
to
they
get this thing.
described that assassin was perfect. I don't remember the words, but they use like the perfect adjectives for this person that's just waiting there to like
Yeah.
kill anybody.
Yeah, what was
It was a great description.
Yeah.
Whatever
The
it was
title.
so
I
perfect.
laughed
But, like,
real hard.
Did we get her in the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
the one who fell in
She was
love
the one
with
that
the guy.
that's the
With the
beat of the
security
zookeeper, and they ended up falling in love because they gave her the same candy. She calls him back, and you're like, I did not see that coming.
Fuck, that's so good. That's so good.
In fact, Wonka even says, I did not see that coming. That was pretty funny when she calls him back.
Nah.
Yeah, you see Noodle going, what are the odds?
Yeah,
Like,
what do you got? Of course, the way they do this is great. We bring back Abigail the giraffe. We know that Abigail likes these mints. We've hidden these mints in Rowan Atkin's pocket. The giraffe comes in, wreaks havoc everywhere when they knocked out the zookeeper again to get the giraffe. Of course, they call in, but we're going to call in. Here's the plan. We call in. No, we have to have the phone operator, who's a real phone operator, patch them through to this thing. And who do we get? Of course, better to have a comedian and not need him, Andy, than need one and not have him.
Is it?
Than need one and not have him. This guy annoyed me the entire movie until this scene. And when he goes, "What's that octopus?" It got me.
It was so fucking funny, and I loved the playing with the music in the church where it's like they have the 500 monks and they're like doing like monk music, monk
Chanting.
opera, chanting.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the
Gregorian
word.
chanting. Yeah.
Music.
yes, sir.
They're just
Like,
like saying things about the plot. It's so stupid.
Yeah, Rowan Atkins, Mr. Bean has a couple great lines here too, where he's like, "One day we will be judged for our sins, but not today," because he's on that smack, he's on that chocolate. And it ends up working. They get down into the elevator. They give the candy to they give the candy to the lady. She gets knocked out, but not before professing her love to the zookeeper. So we've got a little love connection there. We're going to see them later in the movie. Then we get to the trying to find the journal. Where do we find this thing? We're in the vault. Where is it? Don't love that she just happens to randomly fill the book.
Don't love that either.
I would have rather had a character moment here where Noodle, because she's smart, she's supposed to be the brains of the operation, figures out that it's hidden someplace. Little lazy writing here.
Very, very, very weird and not fitting with the rest of the movie. I feel like every other element in this movie had a setup payoff. Like this was just like that's what you went with.
Yeah.
Like,
it could have legitimately just been them looking for it and finding it. It didn't
like
it. If there was like another sort of analogous theme earlier in the movie where you throw something and you might just find it or whatever, that didn't. It was just like a random. I threw this thing.
When in doubt, throw it over your shoulder. Or something stupid
whatever
like that.
Yeah, but it could have just been them looking for it and like, oh my god, I found it. Again, I would have been happier, I think. But in that moment, I'm like, oh, I don't like the luck of this.
They are, of course, caught by the cartel, who then lock them in the chocolate room, and we get another kind of nod to the original movie where they have to drown in a sea of chocolate. The chocolate in this one looks better than I think in any other of the movies because it's thick. Yeah. Like, that's the other thing. Is like when Augustus goes in, he comes out, it's like kind of watery. And this one, they come out and it is chocolate on them. They flood with all the chocolates they have. Yeah. I love that by the way, they've showed they have these massive underwater banks or like underground banks of chocolate, like it was oil. Like they were like holding oil back from the United States to like drive oil prices up or whatever it is.
Yeah,
which
right.
they kind of were, right? Because that was sort of the whole point was they were like, we don't want the poor to be able to afford chocolate.
That thick chocolate was like gooping in Timothy's hair. Like it was.
Love everything you just said.
It was gooping in there, man. It was like it looked like a mess to clean off. Dude.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of a scary scene too.
Very scary.
We knew they weren't going to die, but like. They got a little more aggressive with it than I expected. Reminded me a lot of a famous scene in Turbo, a Power Rangers movie.
Sure.
The returning original Pink Ranger and Red Ranger, Kimberly and Jason, came back. Both of them just looking utterly fantastic. But then they almost drowned. And they were in the boat. And they're like...
And they're like, one last breath.
Yep.
And then wouldn't you know it?
And we get the payoff. Noodle goes, he's like, Wonka's like, oh my God, she goes... A little orange man with green hair, and he's like,
"I'm up here. I'm here to save you."
He pulls the emergency valve that reroutes the chocolate.
He has a paraglider
to just get through the hallway.
A little tiny paraglider to travel faster in the room. It's amazing.
It was just so good.
Dumb. That goes down, and of course they go back upstairs.
But I love that the reasons he's there not to save them is because hey, you fuckers owe me chocolate. Like, Timothee Chalamet gave you this little glass vase.
Oh, right.
And that chocolate is supposed to be mine that I'm going to take back and finally get back into my family or whatever.
Right.
But you all ate all of it, so
me.
fuck y'all. I need to steal all of your chocolate. And, like, I love that that's the only reasoning for it. It wasn't necessarily to save... It wasn't to save anybody. It was just like...
The enemy of my enemy.
Yeah, it's so great.
I did skip that part. So right before dying, he says, can you do me one indulgent or one... favor, basically. I forget how he phrased it, but it's a great way of saying it, like a dying favor, a favor of a dying man. Can you give this candy to I owe this candy to someone. Can you give it to him? Of course, they don't. They eat it because they really do love Wonka's chocolate, but it has a delay. It is hover chalk with a delayed reaction. They start floating away. After being, of course, at this point, they've been confronted. We've confronted them with a ledger. The good cop is like, who has kind of been on Wonka's side the entire time, is like, nope. Police chief, your name is in this too. At this point, Keegan-Michael Key cannot get out of the car because, quote, the car shrunk.
The car shrunk was a great line.
I've been there.
That's a good line.
I've been there. They arrest him because his name's all over this diary. They try to arrest the three guys, but they start floating away. As they do, they grab onto the fountain that used to have water, but now that the team has rerouted that from chocolate to water to chocolate, rather, it erupts with a fountain of chocolate, just like every good wedding ought to have. And
like a Golden Corral, little chocolate fountain.
Buffet.
It's super unhealthy. Like, can you imagine how gross those things were?
I trying to do this.
I know.
You know that there's a 4-year-old that's definitely gone head first.
Nick, no joke. When our Golden Corral got the chocolate fountain, it felt like an event. Like everybody was talking about this shit.
Do they all have chocolate fountains?
I don't think so. No, I mean certainly not anymore. But I don't think every one of them got them. But
Kev,
when
can you YouTube this, please?
When our Golden Corral got the chocolate fountain, like everybody at school was talking about it, like it was fucking Willy Wonka coming to town. You know, it was crazy, dude.
While Kevin looks that up, the three bad guys float away. unfortunately. And he's like, it'll wear off eventually. Oh, there's that chocolate. There's that chocolate fountain.
You could not pay me to eat this at a public buffet, right?
Tim, have you ever had one of these?
I have not.
You take massive toothpicks and you jab it into either fruit or, if you're really into it,
Pound
Rice
cake?
Krispie treats. And you put them underneath it, and then you put them on a plate. My brother had one of these at his first wedding.
They're called skewers, Nick.
Big toothpick. You get it. Toothpick. They look like a big toothpick. Okay. Is the toothpick a mini skewer? I don't think so.
It's for a giant.
They float away, and the whole town gets to share in Wonka's chocolate. At this point, I wish they could have phrased this a little bit better, because he's like, if we're gonna die Wonka's chocolate, and like sprinkle some stuff. And I was like, that's not your chocolate. But he's like, this is my chocolate, everyone, welcome to it. I was like, that's not your chocolate. You stole that chocolate. You wouldn't steal the milk, but you'll steal 800 million gallons of the chocolate. I don't know, Timothee Chalamet. Something's a little sus here. But before we get to that, of course, the whole team's like, we're very, very happy. And he's like, should we tell her? And the clock strikes like noon or whatever it is. And they're like, well, it's time to tell her.
But then they do the best part. They use the chimes from the church to the opening notes for Pure Imagination. And it is just a small, tiny thing, but it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, it's those little details that really make me like this movie a lot more now that we talk about it.
Similar to also, and again, I apologize to the audio listeners for just brushing through. We really should have a whole other podcast for just the moment where the Oompa Loompa is introduced here, because he does have the flute.
Oh my Lord, dude. That was the thing. I was telling him, I was like, dude, I'm so hyped. When he fucking pulls that flute out, I was like, holy shit, dude. Like,
so good.
This is so cool.
Noodle, of course, had said, I fantasize about finding my mom one day, and she lives in a house full of books, so I get to just live in a world of ostensibly pure imagination, right? And so we tie that back into this, where pure imagination before used to be whatever your mind can, indulge in as far as like whatever chocolate you want. But in this one, it's actually pure imagination as far as her mother ends up being a librarian. And when they walk in, it kind of draws her. And this is where I start crying.
Yeah.
Right. Where it starts drawing the Noodle's drawing of what her house should be, and it's the shape of this library.
Dude.
We see the
Did
mother
everyone
for the first time.
universally tear up during all
Yeah,
of this?
this was so well done.
My only criticism is that the actress that plays Noodle, great job. Tears, crying. Timothée Chalamet singing the song. Come with me and you'll see a world of pure imagination. If you want to view paradise, he says, simply look around and view them instead of view it. So he's talking about this here. I was like, oh my God, that hit me real hard.
Mm-hmm.
The actress that played the mom needed just a little bit more out of there. You haven't seen you thought your dead daughter has come back from the grave. You thought she was dead for 12 years, and she's like, oh,
hey, good seeing you there.
Yeah. Hugs her. That's it. That's all we get from her.
Yeah.
Get a couple more takes on that one, please. Let me get a couple tears. Spray some pepper into the eyes. Let's get some tears out of that. I need tears coming for this. Anyway, still a lovely moment. Wonderful use of the song.
I think before this, we had the moment with the mother, though.
Which one?
Where
he? Yes, you're absolutely right. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. The best moment, I think, in the film is we already set up that in the garden or in his store, his mom wasn't there. Doesn't matter. I quit because my mom wasn't there. What do you mean your mom wasn't? Well, she said she would always be by my side when this happened, and she wasn't there. And Noodle's like, you didn't really believe she was gonna like come back and be here with you. He goes, I did.
And he goes, I did,
dude. Right?
Yeah.
I think that was the moment that got me. I was like, oh, my eyes were welling up. Like, oh shit, this is good.
But of course, when he really did share his chocolate with the world for no other reason other than just having the pure joy of it, he sits down and he finally unwraps his mother's chocolate bar to him. What does he find? Of course, the golden ticket. I start crying. It says there is no secret, or the secret to ingredient.
Like the secret ingredient, yeah.
It is, and he flips it over. He's like, it's the people you're sharing your chocolate with.
God damn.
Come on, dude.
I was like,
come on,
so
you
good.
did it, Wonka.
and then we see Sally
He
Hawkins.
does the
for, like,
mean
a couple
girl
seconds.
thing, breaking the crown, chocolate up with his crew.
Everything.
So good.
So good. And then off we go after we see the other mother. We've dropped off Noodle. And hey, man, bon voyage. Hugh Grant's going back. He's like, my debt to my people is full. My charge is done. I'm going back. And he's like, you could go back.
Well, hold on, though. There was a big reveal here.
Yeah.
He was actually an inch shorter than the other Oompa Loompas.
That's very true. It's very true.
They called me. What did
short pants or something
Shorty
like that.
pants. I think it was shorty pants. Yeah. And he's like, well, you could go back with them, or, you can hang out with me because I have a burgeoning chocolate business now, and I'm going to need some place to make all that chocolate, something like a factory. And we go off to this castle, which I love that it's in ruin. And then the 2009 rebuilding of the Enterprise, or building of the Enterprise, rather, They walk in and it starts building all around him as he sings once again a reprisal of Pure Imagination.
And it was
Love
amazing.
him walking on the multicolored mushrooms as they kind of fart dust up around him. All that stuff, piping, all of it being built around him. And then we as we pull out, we see the factory sort of.
The waterfall makes
the return of the chocolate. All that stuff. Great rendition of this, and that is Wonka.
I mean, it was kind of a perfect end.
Yeah.
Like it was just pitch perfect. I could not believe they pulled it all together. And that's one of those things where it's so easy to just bring back Pure Imagination and have it hit, but it's also easy to do that and have it not hit, right? This just was the perfect balance. Like the rendition of it that he did, I was like, damn, Timothy, you earned your spot here as Wonka. Like that he did Pure Imagination in a way that I'm saying 2 thumbs up. That is incredible.
Me too. Yeah.
And then we get
the mid-credit sequence where he's like, well, just in case you didn't know like what happened. And honestly, I don't remember. Everyone went back to their positions. The comedian got his wife back, who I want to say was the mom from that 70s show, but I could be wrong. The actress looked like her, but I could be. She's there for like 5 seconds.
So.
The accountant went back to his family.
The accountant went back to his family. What's her name? The call lady went back to being a call lady or an operator. I forget what happened to the other lady. But everyone gets a happy ending, including Slugworth, or not Slugworth, except for Scrubbit and Bleacher, who she's like, I haven't done anything. He's like, well, you did, poison everyone in town. She's like, shit, we did. Cops start knocking on the door.
Destroy the evidence.
They start destroying the evidence.
It's a great line delivery.
Yeah, they turn into multicolored sort of like trolls.
The
like
twits.
The twits. And that is fun. And I love that.
There we go. Now it's time for a thing I like to call RaGuWonku.
Oompa, loompa, doopa dee doo. This is a segment called RaGuWonku.
What would you do when you're ranking Wonka?
Did you notice that, like the Slugsworth character and most of the Chocolate Cartel, anytime they said a WH word, they did the
Wonka.
Like they did extra hard. But then they would do it for just like Wonka. Like anything without the H said Wonka. Like, why are you doing it?
It's fun.
It's so funny though.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to RaGuWonku. Where does the list stand right now? I believe it's Gene Wilder is number 1, and then I believe Johnny Depp number 3.
That is correct.
Perfect.
Johnny Depp is in fact number 3. That leaves number 2 open.
I'd easily say Timothee Chalamet is
fitting.
number 2.
Yeah.
Fitting. Good job. Very serviceable. Very fun to watch him for.
We might even want to put Johnny Depp at number 4.
That's
I feel
the
like we
thing.
need like more of a barrier.
Incredibly impressed with like how high I would put Timothy, but I mean it is.
Should we put Dan Fogler from Balls of Fury in at number 3?
I'm not ready to commit that yet,
Okay.
but maybe
We could
one
get there.
day.
Okay, everyone keep that in your back pocket. Keep that in your top hat, Andy.
In my Wonka pocket.
In your Wonka.
Eating some chocolate.
Chocolate.
Remember they kept
I
on
enjoyed that stuff,
doing the
yeah,
rhymes. Yeah, that was cute as shit.
Now the Wonka ranking. Currently number 1 is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and number 3 is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Wonka's number 2.
This
Yeah.
is the most easy number 2. Yeah.
I'd say, but I mean, again, I want this in the record to show that it's Wonka number 1, this one number 2, and then the Johnny Depp one like way down there.
Yeah.
I want the point spread on this one needs to be like real far.
I think a case can be made that this is a overall like better structured movie.
Oh, it's a way better movie than the first one.
Like in terms of like setups and payoffs and all that fun stuff, but it's still like missing it's missing Gene Wilder. Like,
Yeah.
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 Like it's one of those weird things where it reminds me a lot of older rankings where, the newer movie comes out and it's better in all these different ways in terms of writing and structure and like the second act, kind of being the downfall and the third act's a big redemption. And I feel like this movie does a better job of being a complete movie, but part 1 is like just so classic and like almost faultless,
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you all for joining us on this Wonka adventure. It was a great time watching these movies, some more than others. But I will say, it was kind of a joke doing Wonka in review because I was like, there's no way this Wonka movie is going to be good. I'm happy this one Good
Worked
time.
out.
And people are
People watch
watching.
way worse movies than
Yeah,
this
for
one.
sure.
People
for
are
sure.
watching the reviews.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So shout out
Thank
to all of
you.
you for doing that as well. Like I was saying, we'll return next year for In Review. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you, the next couple of weeks, are like, I just don't know what to do with myself, guess what? We have literally 1,000 episodes of this show out. I don't know that that's true, but close to,
lot.
I'm sure, episodes of In Review that you can go check out. Maybe you want to watch the Balls of Fury episode that Nick's talking about. Maybe you don't. I don't know.
I don't think
but
you
that's
do.
up
You
to
might.
you.
I quoted a lot in the movie. I quote the movie.
Or you know what? It's the holidays. I think it's perfect to rewatch Lord of the Rings in review.
That's
the amount of
always
times I
true.
still get tweets about how people loved rewatching that and the love and infatuation we have for Peter Jackson.
Jack it off. Love you guys. Bye.
Jesus.